talk about pedogate, for example. The worst flack I've gotten about this are from so-called self-proclaimed Christians. When you talk about, as you said, the biblical, meshing the biblical narrative, you get blowback. But is this from Christians? And if so, why?
I think there's an anti-supernatural bias even amongst Christendom. I mean, you can see, Jesus warned us of this, and people can do with it. These aren't my words; these are our Savior's words. And he says in the latter days, in the end times, that they'll have a form of religion but deny its power. Well, what's he talking about? And that's exactly what we have. We have a form of religion, but we deny its power. What kind of power am I talking about? I'm getting a lozenge here. Pardon me sucking on this, but my throat's on fire.
Having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof.
And, I mean, that's exactly, in my opinion, with all due respect, to a lot of the church today. When you read the book of Acts, they're gathered together in an upper room, okay? What's going on there? They're waiting on the Lord. No, there's no worship team, more than likely. We're not told. Maybe they sang a few hymns, something like that. That wouldn't surprise me. But there's no pastor that's going to get up and teach from the New Testament because the New Testament hasn't been written yet. So what are they doing? They're waiting on the Lord. It's something that churches have completely forgotten how to do, and most pastors don't know how to do. And the problem is when we move into the supernatural, it can get really sloppy. And what I mean by that, and I've seen this, if God starts to move in a place, you'll have every demon-possessed person within 50 miles showing up at that church to confuse everybody.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. So, anybody, now, for instance, when I was at Steve Quayle's conference, the Branson conference, and I was speaking, it was my turn to speak, and there were about 3,000 people in the audience. It was a great crowd.
By the way, your speech was fantastic.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Praise the Lord. And, I was on fire. I felt a real anointing from the Lord. And this woman, like in the front row, stands up and starts yelling out in tongues.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. I looked at her and said, "Excuse me, ma'am, you're out of order. Unless you have an interpreter for that, you're out of order. And besides, you're interrupting what I'm saying, so you're really out of order." And I just went on with what I was saying, because she was out of order. And the Bible tells us to do these things decently and in order. She was completely out of order. Just read Corinthians when it, specifically chapters 13 and 14, 1 Corinthians chapter 14, which tells us, how to really walk in the Spirit. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is most of this has been deliberately dumbed down to the point where there are even some churches, if you walk in there and raise your hands, some usher will come up to you and tap you on the shoulder and say, "We don't do that here." So now I can't be expressive.
Okay, so you that is okay. I don't understand that either.
Well, we've talked about this at great length and how the church has become so corrupted by trying to placate and conform to the world. This is why you see the transgender, the homosexual agenda,
the tolerance,
the Bible being censored. This is why you have bishops in the positions of power in the Catholic hierarchy calling people who believe in the fundamental principles of the Bible haters for not accepting, homosexuality and whatnot, and then demanding that other people be censored for hate speech because they don't think the same way they do. This is happening. There's a bishop, I believe it's in Switzerland right now, who is basically attacking all of his critics because he wants open homosexual marriages in the churches, and he wants to change the scriptures to be inclusive to transgender.
Yep.
And the opposition he's facing on social media, he is asking that it be banned as hate speech. This is how crazy it is.
Yeah, I mean, truth is thrown to the street. I mean, it really is. And we are in a place that is so dire, so unlike any other place in time that I've ever seen. But, Jesus or Paul warned us in the end, perilous times will come. And that's where we are, perilous times. I mean, if someone looks, and I do this at a lot of conferences, I go, how many of you think the world is better off now than what it was, let's say, 15 years ago? nary a hand goes up because everybody believes and just looks around and goes, are you kidding me? And we've talked about this on the show. The rise of Islam is completely taken over Europe. There are now no-go zones everywhere. It's funny, King Abdullah of Jordan over the weekend stated, Americans have a fundamental lack of understanding of Islam. Just kind of read the comments under that. It's hysterical. No, King Abdullah, we don't have a lack of understanding. We know, unlike the Brits and the goofy French who don't understand anything, and the Germans who won't stand up and say it like it is, we know exactly who these people are, and many of us will not tolerate them. And by the way, what got Hillary Clinton, I think it was her death knell, is when she stood up and she said half of Trump supporters, and you guys know where I'm going with this.
Oh yeah,
half of Trump supporters could be put into what I call a basket of deplorables. Homophobes, Islamophobes, xenophobes. This is where she went, and that basically got her. I mean, people like me, I'm not a homophobe, but I don't believe in gay marriage. I think marriage is between one woman, one man, and the story. It has nothing to do with being gay. They should have, some kind of contract or whatever, but let's not call it marriage. And yet the Supreme Court went against the will of the land and did this. Am I a xenophobic? That's the other one.
Right.
Am I a xenophobe because I want a wall on the southern border because of the drug cartels? Because look at the murders in Mexico are more deaths in Mexico due to the drug cartels than we have in Iraq and Afghanistan combined.
Yep.
I mean, they're on a war footing there. There are places you can't go anymore. Hello? But, people say don't build the wall. It's anti-American nonsense. And I'm doing something. I probably won't have it done for another couple of weeks, but I'm actually doing an experiment. And I won't tell you what it is. But
come on, LA. It's just you and me and Joe. You could tell us. Yeah, don't worry.
We won't tell.
We won't tell anybody. It's just us.
Okay.
That won't work, will it? Probably not.
On the back of this paper, right here.
Okay.
And some guy's already going, oh my gosh, I can read that. So on the back of the paper is a list of phone numbers. And I'm going to call all the phone numbers, and I'm going to talk to the people on the other end of the phone. And I'm going to ask them some questions. And I won't tell you what the questions are, but the questions have to do with what we're dealing with this whole immigration thing. And I think people will find it interesting when I publish it. I may actually try to do some of it tomorrow. Even if I can only get 4 or 5 answers, I will post it. But, the bottom line is,
I think I might have an idea of where you might.
Totally do.
Okay, and that's brilliant, by the way. I can't wait for that to come out. If it's
why hasn't anyone else done this? I don't understand. But I'm going to do it tomorrow. So I've got the phone numbers, and I'm going to do it tomorrow. The other thing I find interesting, the Islamophobe thing. So let me get this straight. How many people want to move to Dearborn, Michigan, where the population is basically, it's all Islamic? And I mean, look, I have nothing against these people one-on-one. I do have something against people that come here and want Sharia law instead of the Constitution. We're not going to have 2 sets of laws in this country. We're not going to have Sharia law and then the Constitution. We're not going to have that. That's not going to work. It would be like me going to Saudi Arabia and going, I'd really like to build a church here and start it with a Christian community. What do you say, guys? They won't even allow me to bring a Bible in. You see how completely duplicitous it is? Somehow that's given a pass. And oh, by the way, getting back in the deep state, since we're on Saudi Arabia, isn't it interesting how Jared Kushner goes over there and within 2 weeks, the whole thing blows up. Everybody's arrested for money laundering, which has gone on, by the way, for decades. And when they follow the money, if they do it, it will point, in my opinion, I'm going out on a limb here, it will point back to Obama, Bush number 2, Clinton, and Bush number 1. And that's why the Bushes, I believe, stood up right after Jared Kushner came back. Check the dates on that. It's the death of the Republican Party. Oh, really? Why are they saying that? What's in it for them?
That's very well stated, and people need to pay attention. As I said before, earlier in the program, dates and events, or names and dates and events. People need to know that. And what you just said there about the Clinton and Bush dynasties,
Yeah,
and Saudi Arabia. Wow. Okay. Follow the money too.
follow the money. And the problem is that the deep state is so corrupt that, who does, like when Trump fired Comey, I was going like, why is he firing Comey? What's going on here? And now we see that Comey, Obama, Mueller, the whole crew, Clinton's, the DNC, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I mean, the whole thing is so corrupt. I mean, why isn't CNN or MSNBC just circling back to the Democratic nomination where, Hillary wins 6 out of 6 with a coin toss and Bernie Sanders is just dismissed? Nonsense. I mean, it was all managed. Every bit of it was managed. And I mean, it's just amazing. Not a peep out of the stupid media about.
No, not only did she steal. Sorry, Ellie, but I just want to say this. Not only did she steal the primary from Bernie Sanders, but as Donna Brazil pointed out in her book, she took over the whole apparatus of the DNC financially, not only at the national level, but in each state level. So people who were donating money to the DNC, that money, no matter what state you were in, Hillary Clinton funneled that money back into her campaign and then paid the DNC in allowance. She broke the law not only by swindling Sanders out of the primary, but also by the way she took over the whole DNC for her own personal purposes.
And that is a great. People need to understand and understand exactly what Joe said in LA. Man, I'll tell you, that's 50 at least violation in 50 different jurisdictions.
I mean, this lady breaks the law every day of the week, leaving a trail of evidence behind her every time she does it, and manages to never have a mark on her record.
But LA, we are fake news. Okay,
yeah, I love that. Right
on my desk, and this is my wife says, don't even mention this. Don't go there. She warned me. I've got 112 pages on my desk. And in I can't tell you what it is, but we are fake news. We are peddling a fake story by Pizzagate. We, the Hagman Report, specifically Doug Hagman, are wronging the American public by peddling fake news and endangering people by talking about Pizzagate and causing, by our words, people to go in and shoot up innocent businesses. I could go on 112 pages worth of this crap on a cracker. Sorry.
No, I'm Doug, I'm right there with you. I mean, there's a war against the truth, and that's why the media releasing, or the Republicans releasing the so-called nothing burger. I just love that, the nothing burger. How about the everything burger? How about it implicates the DOJ, the FBI, the FISA courts, the Clinton campaign? I mean, how deep does it go? These guys would do anything. And the backup plan was, well, if he gets in anyway, we'll just flip it. And this will be, here it is. It's already flipped. Now we'll prosecute Trump for collusion with the Russians. And of course, there's nothing there. That's the nothing burger. So,
but they're going to go after him for obstruction of justice, and there was a whole big thing here this past weekend after the Nunes memo was released, and there was talk about firing Rosenstein. All right,
right.
If he did that,
it's a constitutional crisis,
right? There, can the president, by the way, be charged with? Can he be charged with
obstruction of justice? Obstruction with justice?
Yeah, yes. That's what it came down to. There are only two issues or instances in history. One was 1973, the other was in 2000. That this was considered, in other words, charging a sitting president. And both times, one under Nixon, one under Clinton, they said no, you can't charge a sitting president. You can name him as an unindicted co-conspirator, perhaps. But that's as far as you can
Yeah,
go.
there's an argument that the president can't ever be guilty of obstruction of justice.
Right. So anyway, I thought I'd mention that. I don't know why.
Yeah, I just think it's really interesting how this is going to play out in the coming months. It's just, and the patriots, those of us who love our Christian values, even though we're in the basket of deplorables, that celebrate our Christian values. I mean, the fact that had Hillary gotten in, this country would be a whole different country, completely different than what we see now under Trump. And it's amazing how the DNC is trying to credit Obama with the economy. Obama had nothing to do with this thing. Obama had everybody basically on the verge of collapse. And if Clinton had got in and she raised taxes, I mean, what's left for the working guy?
Well, we can credit Obama with the economy this last year, because since he's been out of office, it seems like the oppression of that economy has stopped. And then, it didn't matter when Obama got in and the economy tanked. They blame Bush. When Trump gets in and Obama leaves and the economy does good, now he takes credit for it. But one thing I'll say with the consumer confidence and the way the market is up, I do attribute that to Trump and his policies. It'll be interesting to see what his response is, though, because the media is saying, well, if he owned the stock market when it's good, what's he going to say when it's down 1,100 points? But either way, things are unbelievably good compared to how they were under Obama and how they would be under Hillary Clinton. And that alone, if he was in office, we probably would all be in re-education camps right now.
And circling, and you're right, and circling back to what you said, L.A., about your personal tax liability situation, just the change in attitude there. I would.
Night and day.
Yeah, exactly.
Night and day. How can they come in? And they're saying we owed $150,000. I mean, where am I going to come up with that kind of money? That would basically bankrupt us. We lose the house. I mean, that'd be it. Be all over. And the Lord is our defense. And I had a lawyer on standby, which we never had to use. But Trump got elected, and basically it went away because we knew he would know it. But the thing is, you're guilty until proven innocent with the IRS.
Sure.
So you've got to pay money to the lawyer, money to the accountant. All that's going out. So just because I've been audited, I mean, that's how the game is played. So one way or the other, and look, I'm using myself as an example. How many tens of thousands of other law-abiding entrepreneurs, Americans are out there, entrepreneurial Americans are out there with the same sort of tale of woe, as it were. But, we only got a few more minutes. I just want to get into this.
Sure.
Just the DNA again, just so people have an idea of why this is important. I think it's really important because in some ways it can rewrite history. More testing needs to be done. We're not saying these are the Nephilim. We're not saying that at all. But I will say this, that Marcia Moore, who presented, and she was incredible. She's a forensic artist. And I think I showed you this the last time, but I'll show it to you again. Let me see if it back a little bit.
Yeah,
wow.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
There it is right there.
Wow.
That's what she posits they looked like.
Okay.
And the reason for this, very, very long neck. She had no knowledge of the Anakim. I want to make it real plain here because the naysayers will hop all over this. I'm not saying that this artifact is a Nephilim or an Anakim. I'm not saying that, but it could be. We don't know what it is because of the morphological differences, which point to a genetic aberration, a different subspecies. Something is affecting the human genome and creating a hybrid on some level. Marcia did not know what the Anakim meant, and the Anakim means long necks. That's what it means. It means long necks.
Otherwise known as Adam Schiff, but go ahead.
Yeah, there you go. That guy's such a little weasel. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But I didn't mean to take you off track. I'm sorry.
No. I just want to get to it again so you guys can really.
My goodness. Okay.
Why
you have to shift it. Yeah, there you go.
There it is.
Wow.
Pretty creepy.
Now, when she did that, I wrote her back and I said, Marcia, do you have any idea of why did you do this? And she said, because the foramen, form follows function. It's like function follows form. It's like in order for this thing to balance, it must have a longer neck. And at that point, I said, are you aware about the Anakim, which is one of the tribes of the Nephilim, which were in the Levant during the conquest of Canaan 3,500 years ago? When translated, that means the long necks. And we talked about that at the conference, but we never got into the woo-woo. We never got into the supernatural, the idea of fallen angels having sex with the women of earth, creating a hybrid being known as the Nephilim. That's my personal belief, off the record, kind of. That's what I think is going on. But the science doesn't show us that yet. That's conjecture on my part. The science shows us this, that the DNA, okay, not all of it, but a lot of it, the haplogroups coming from the mitochondrial DNA, the female side of the equation, comes from the Middle East and Europe. That alone rewrites history. And then, of course, we've got the morphological differences of the skulls themselves, which just shouldn't be there. I mean, when you look at I'm going to show you another picture here. When you look at where the foramen magnum is on these things, it's like, I mean, it's just absolutely incredible.
In LA, you talked about the rewriting history with these discoveries, and we've talked a lot at length about the Smithsonian Museum suppressing evidence of giants and other skeletal remains that were found, and how they have done this for over 100 years. But I wanted to ask you this: there was a recent discovery of dinosaur remains with tissue still on the bones, and I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah, I have, and the professor won a lawsuit because he was charged as spreading false creationism and upholding a religion. He says, no, I'm not. All I'm doing is presenting the evidence. There's soft tissue in the dino bone. Something's wrong here, guys. It's not millions and millions and billions of years old. It's much closer. So he rewrites history there too. Look, if you have not seen Ben Stein's movie Expelled, No Intelligence Allowed, it should be a prerequisite for every Christian, because he's already done the work, and he shows that there's a bias in the academic scientific community. Anybody who does not hold the existing paradigm, which of course is Darwinism, is dealt with, is basically drummed out, just like this professor, I think it was at UCLA, that was drummed out. And he won in court. So there you go.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering, I remember reading about this story, and then it just came to my mind. I guess I didn't follow up on it. But did they ever test that DNA or test that to give it an age?
Joe, I don't know.
Okay. I'll look into it.
Yeah.
But definitely it's very fascinating. And I know, we all know, especially the work you've done, and that there is so much others. There are things out there. There are, like the poster behind you says, I want to believe, like the X-Files. Right. The truth is out there. You just got to find it, right?
Well, it is. And, unlike the X-Files, which, with all due respect, a couple of actors, and they're great actors, and I'm a fan of the show. But, the stuff that comes across my desk, black-eyed kids, sightings of centaurs in the Four Corner region, what do you do with that, right? UFOs, encounters, missing time, encounters with hybrid beings. I mean, that's the kind of stuff we deal with here. Demonic possession. It's all over the map. And, I, like everybody else, you got to get prayed up, and you can't get to everybody because it's just me. There's no staff of 50 people here. It's just my wife and myself, and she's in shipping. So, I'm wearing all the hats here, so to speak, and we try to do what we can do and make a difference in people's lives. But, we've got email after email after email from people thanking us for the books and the DVDs and being bold enough to speak out. And I just thank you guys for the platform with your show and allowing me to come on it. You guys got great listeners, great followers, and it's an honor to be here.
Well, it's an honor to have you at LA, and people. I think people need to understand how what you're talking about really is about current events and how all of this overlaps and intertwines, and the fact that the politics and geopolitics of today, how your finds not only substantiate or verify what's in the Bible, but how the Bible is really coming alive today, and how all of this just works together. It's just, and it's amazing, and we thank you for your excellent work in pointing all of this out. But you really can't separate what we're talking about.
I agree. It's all intertwined like this. When you start going down the rabbit hole, the Nephilim and UFOs may look kind of like this, but eventually they merge. Everything goes back to the Genesis 3:15, which is sort of my proof text, where the seed of the woman is at enmity. The seed of the serpent is at enmity, at war with the seed of the woman. He, Messiah, will crush the serpent's head. The serpent will bruise his heel. And that sets up the rest of the biblical narrative. That sets up the cosmic chess match. That's the whole ball of wax right there. And we're seeing it being played out.
Indeed we are. And by the way, excellent book.
Thank you.
So, okay. So in closing, here we only have
about 3-4 minutes.
About 3 or 4 minutes. The floor is yours. Anything you want to promote, appearances wise, or anything?
I will be in Dayton, Ohio, this coming weekend. Go to the blog site lamarzulli.wordpress.com, and you'll have to scroll down. But I will be posting it. I'll be in Dayton. I'll be speaking Friday, Saturday, and partly Sunday. And we're really looking forward to that. Thank you, Pastor Mike, for having us out there. Very cool. Also, the live streaming is available at lamarzulli.net or lamarzulli.wordpress.com. It's about 3 hours and 45 minutes of presentations. So I present. I'm also emceeing it. There it is right there, the live streaming. And it's all, you can register for it, and it's $9.99. All the money for the live streaming until we get the DVDs goes right back into the kitty. In other words, goes back into our pool for further research. That's how that works. So the press conference, costs a lot of money to fly everybody in, feed everybody, pay everybody to speak, get the sound guy in there, pay for the hotel. I mean, it all adds up. So when you spend $9.99, you're helping us support what we do. And with those of you who have done that already, we thank you. So it's 3 hours and 45 minutes. Myself, obviously, Richard Shaw, Brian Forrester, Mondo Gonzalez, Rick Woodward, our anthropologist, followed by Dr. Michael Alday, Dr. Malcolm Warren, the chiropractor, and then last but not least, Marcia Moore, who we've been showing you the illustrations. Just incredible, and she sort of wrapped things up. So it's 3 hours and 45 minutes of what I think is very, very important material, very important data for people to look at, understand, because it rewrites history. And we've only scratched the surface. We've only scratched the surface of this thing. I mean, there's so much. We have more questions now than we have answers for.